Welcome to For Collector channel. If you collect paper money, you already know how important condition or grade of a banknote is. A small difference in grade can have a big impact on its price or value. So it is imperative to have more than just a basic understanding of grading. Grading is quite subjective and somewhat complicated. I am certainly no expert. In this video, I hope to simplify banknote grading by showing you lots of examples so you can know what to look for. So let's get started. A quick word on terminology. Uncirculated banknote is essentially an unused or new banknote in pristine condition. Anything that has been used in day-to-day transactions or has been out in circulation and shows sign of wear is referred to as circulated banknote. This is the basic grading scale. Lowest grade on the left and highest grade on the right. Now let's get into more specifics of what to look for. I have put together a pretty comprehensive pictorial guide of common banknote issues that you may encounter. Best way to examine a banknote is to take it out of its holder and to look at both the front and back of the note. Many times folds are better seen on the back of the note than the front face. Optimal way to view is to hold the banknote in the palm of your hand at an oblique angle under good lighting. Also, holding the note up to light or shining light through the note will bring out flaws like lines caused by folds and small holes or pinholes that you may otherwise miss. Most of us buy banknotes online, and we may only see scanned images or images taken in poor lighting where folds and imperfections could be hidden. First, we start with examining paper quality. Basically, how firm is the paper? Is it crisp? Hold the banknote from one edge, and if it is firm, the paper will hold itself up, while a limp note will not and just fall flat. Look at the printing colors. Are they still bright and vibrant? With over-circulation, paper tends to get dull and faded. Run your fingers over the paper, especially raised elements like serial numbers, to see if you feel the raised imprints on the surface of the note, referred to as embossing. Banknotes printed using intaglio method have such tactile features. Loss of embossing is a telltale sign of a note that was pressed out. Margins refer to the outer border of the note around the printed design. For higher grade notes, it is important that the printing is well centered such that margins on all four sides are equal, meaning the design is not off-centered on either the front or the back of the note. Edges refers to the four sides of the note. This is where we would find issues like splits and tears. Here we have examples of various issues with edges. Edge nick or edge split is associated with heavy fold. It is basically a slight edge where, due to repeated folding, not quite a tear yet. Over time, however, splits can progress into an actual tear. Ragged edges can be seen on old, poorly handled, overly circulated notes, and it can adversely affect the grading, as you can imagine. Corners, or the very tips of a banknote, are also important, especially for higher grade notes. An uncirculated note has sharp, squared corners without even slight rounding. As the paper gets more worn out, the corners begin to get rounded and eventually may tear off. Folds are the most paramount element of banknote grading. Number of folds, degree, and location of folds, and its effect on overall paper integrity is what we need to evaluate. Corner counting bend, or what's referred to as a bank teller flicks, are quite common even on high-grade notes and will preclude an uncirculated status. Wrinkles are folds that don't travel from edge to edge. A fold can be light or strong. Light folds gently bend the note, and if you hold the note up to light, there is no line seen in the body of the paper. Unlike strong folds, light folds may be resolved by pressing a note, while strong fold won't completely resolve. Crease, on the other hand, is a heavier fold that has broken the surface of the note and is deep into the fibers of the paper. Creases are much more obvious, and no amount of ironing or pressing will repair the damaged paper along the crease. Tears are very important to recognize as they affect grading a lot. Degree of tear, its location, and its effect on the design of banknote are all factors we need to examine. A small tear in the margin only, which does not extend into printing, will lead to a very fine grade, while tear that extends further into the border of the design will drop the grade to fine level. Larger tears that extends into the actual design, or any so-called internal tears, would drop the grade all the way to very good. And mind you, very good is not good at all. Holes are also quite important and often hidden unless you hold the note up to light. Older French and Indian banknotes commonly have staple holes upon issue. We can even see slightly larger spindle holes that can often result in tearing. Center holes are caused by excessive folding at the intersection of vertical and horizontal folds over time. As in this example shown here, punch hole cancellation can normally be seen on notes that are specimen or redeemed or taken out of circulation. Stains are quite common on notes that have spent some time in general circulation, with dirt and oil on hands resulting in discoloration. Minor stain that does not affect the design, especially the portrait or vignette, does not decrease the overall eye appeal of the note, but larger stains in the design can really make the note unappealing. Smudge is just the oily skin contact with ink surface resulting in slight smearing. Toning refers to generalized yellowing of the paper due to aging. Stain or dirt tends to accumulate along the folds of the paper and sometimes can be improved by gentle washing. Let's be clear, washing a note is never recommended. Rust and foxing is a more serious problem. These are reddish-brown spots that indicate oxidation if it is plain rust. But if it is mold or fungus, it may have a distinct smell. Rust or foxing are caused by exposure to moisture and improper storage. Third-party grading companies may label a note with such issues as or apparent, since the problem can get worse over time. Tape residue from prior repair of a tear can really ruin the paper. Anything that cannot be classified as generic dirt or stain will be referred to as foreign substance. Yuck! Graffiti refers to any writing or ink that does not belong on the note. They tend to distract from the overall beauty of the note and can negatively impact the grade like a tear would. Minor graffiti can be seen on fine grade, but as the writing is more prominent, it would certainly pull down the grade even lower. A specimen note, like we have here with all 0 serial number, may have writing on the margins, referred to as the printer's annotations. This is part of evaluating and record-keeping during print runs, so it is expected and does not impact grade. One of the most problematic issues with older and valuable notes is the sneaky doctoring of the notes in an attempt to mitigate issues like folds, tears, stains, etc., without disclosing it to the unsuspected buyers. While it may improve the eye appeal by disguising the problem, it commonly results in irreversible damage to the paper. Even though it will certainly fool a novice, these chemical and physical manipulation tends to leave telltale signs that can be picked up by a more experienced collector and certainly by any professional grader. Let's look at some examples. Here we have a banknote with red ink graffiti that has been at least partially scrubbed off. Washing a banknote with soap and detergents will result in overall dulling of paper and create characteristic white streaks along the creases where dirt has been pulled off, but underlying paper damage is now even more prominent than before. This is an extreme example of how bleaching pretty much wiped off the ink used for printing the note. Glue and tape repairs don't fool anyone and can be quite hideous as they discolor and badly stain the paper. Here's a more subtle repair of a large corner tear. It has been repaired with glue and restored with using additional paper. Here, the left edge of the banknote has been trimmed using scissors to get rid of the torn or ragged edge issue. We can all agree banknote evaluation is a bit complicated, to say the least. There is a lot to evaluate, and it gets even more tricky when we try to put all of these elements together to come up with a specific grade that all can agree upon. This is the same basic grading scale I have shown before, but now I have added in the abbreviations. What is missing here is the intermediate grades. These are basically the in-between grades. For example, if we have a banknote that is much better than expected for very fine grade, but does not quite meet the strict criteria for extremely fine, then we can assign it an intermediate grade, which can be written as VF/EF or VF plus or EF minus. Professional grading companies use a different terminology called choice. So choice very fine grade would indicate that the note is at the highest end of the very fine category. Honestly, these intermediate grades are quite abused and tend to further confuse or complicate the whole grading process. I have a suggestion on how to approach grading a banknote. I find it useful myself and do hope it makes sense to you as well. So here we go. Start with overall eye appeal of the note, i.e. look at the paper quality, degree of folds, and overall preservation of design to get to a ballpark grade. Basically figure out whether you are dealing with a high, mid, or low grade note. Next, look for any major defects like large tears, graffiti, etc. which would drop the grade down even further. As they say, the grade of a note is basically determined by its greatest flaw. Any manipulations like washing or trimming will reduce the grade by one whole level. Finally, look at other minor issues like stains, pinholes, rounded corners, or edge wear to then fine-tune your grading by half a grade. This would help to figure out if the note is in the higher or lower end of the same grade. Does this make sense, or is it as clear as mud?
Uncirculated grade is a pristine note that has no signs of circulation or wear. This is the investment grade note. Paper is crisp and colors are vibrant. Great embossing will earn it EPQ or PPQ designation by third-party grading companies. Corners are sharp. Absolutely no folds. Great centering and front-to-back registration can elevate it to even a higher status. Almost uncirculated grade is assigned to a note that has only a light corner counting bend, or a single light center fold. Margins may be slightly off-centered, but otherwise the note is almost new. Extremely fine is a mid-grade that has a very strict criteria of 3 vertical folds, or 2 vertical folds plus 1 horizontal fold, or 1 single crease. Paper is firm. Overall note is quite appealing with only mild wear or handling. Very fine is a low-grade note and is probably the broadest category in the whole scale. If you look at the criteria in the table below, there is a lot of stuff. But keep in mind a note may only have some, and not all of these mentioned features to be considered for this grade. No more than 8 to 10 folds total, but the overall design is still preserved, and while the paper is dull, it is not limp. Additional issues like stains, tiny margin tears, etc., can all drag the note to the lower end of the very fine grade. Fine grade is probably the lowest grade a collector would like to own, especially if you are dealing with a rare, or rather expensive banknote. Excessively wrinkled and soft paper with stains and center hole start to negatively affect the overall design, but there are no big tears into the design. Very good is just a misnomer, as there is nothing good about this grade. Tears now extends into design, edges are torn, and paper is totally limp. But no large pieces missing. Good, fair, and poor grades can be lumped up together as the rags, aka badly torn notes with large missing pieces, and sometimes barely held together by tape. A brief word about the third-party grading. Companies like PMG, PCGS, Legacy, etc. will authenticate a note, assign it a numerical grade based on Sheldon's 70-point scale, and then encapsulate the note in an airtight holder that would prevent any future degradation of the note. This totally takes the whole guesswork out of the grading. But it costs money and time. So there are some pros and cons, but that's for another video. I hope you found my effort useful. If you learned anything new, please support the channel by sharing this video with other collectors. I appreciate you watching till the end. Take care and keep collecting.